Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Awaken the World. We are live. It is the 23rd of May already, the year 2021, 45% over. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are live right now. Return to Love. This is a redo because last night just did not work out with the stream. It appears we have a good solid stream tonight. So, hello. Yeah, good day today. It probably looks like I got a little more sun, and I did. I see Louisa's here. Hi, Louisa. How you doing? Kelly and I were out on the lake early this morning, and we and you know, luckily we made it back here. And then this afternoon, the starter in the car just gave it up, and it's pretty definitive. It's dead. So the car is sitting down the road, and it'll be towed and fixed on Tuesday because tomorrow's a holiday. And it's really quite okay, whatever happens to be going on in your life. And this is the point, is you get to choose how you're going to perceive it. And, it's fortunate. The car is actually about, 300 feet from where it needs to be for service on Tuesday. And we got to walk home and it was cloudy and a little bit cooler. So that was nice because it was getting quite hot today and a little bit muggy too. So it all worked out in the end. And really, life always does work out in the end, no matter what you may happen to think about it. So before we get into this video, first of all, since we're talking about a return to love, let me express my love for each and every one of you. Why? Because you're all part of me, and I am part of you. And all of us together make up all the apparent individuated parts of that one creative consciousness, that which we would call the divine or God. Or my personal preference is just that, creative consciousness with a capital C, two capital C's. So speaking of creative consciousness, and forgive me if I'm reaching for my water every once in a while, a little dehydrated. It was a fantastic 3.5, 4 hour kayak. Though it was absolutely gorgeous out, and there was lots of beautiful life to take part of. I have some beautiful shots of some loons, and even one spitting a little stream of water. It's actually kind of cute, and I'll post those later on. So let's talk about love, okay? And if you've heard me before, and this is kind of one of Garhen's quotes, and that is, love is a one-way street. Love is not a two-way street, and I can understand how most people get really confused by that and honestly fall into the idea that love involves some sort of reciprocation, sorry. And it doesn't. And I know at first that's going to seem really strange, but we have to understand what love really is. Love, if we can sum love up as simply and succinctly as possible, it would be the 3 words from The Princess Bride. And I've talked about this movie before, and we're going to have a quick recap if you haven't caught this little bit, okay? But if you haven't seen that movie, The Princess Bride is one of the cosmic Easter egg movies of the millennium. It really is. And the reason why is that the whole movie is motivated by true love. True love, in other words, real love. 100% pure, real, true love. Something very, 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 did I use enough adjectives? Very rare. According to all the players in that movie, okay? And it was even those people who did not want to help when they found out that the reason they were helping and the reason the quest was on, the reason this person was in trouble was because they were doing it for true love. Well, that changed everything. And how was true love expressed? Three simple words. And this really is the very best definition of love. As you wish. That's it. Love essentially encompasses those three words, and those three words encompass all of what love is. As you wish. So we begin to form the groundwork of how we're going to understand that love is just a one-way street. Now, we're not talking about the fact that someone can't choose to reciprocate love back to you. And that's absolutely fine. But when we're talking about love, what we're talking about is the expression outwards in one direction of that total acceptance, total recognition, and total openness of, and I hesitate to even say the word allowing because there's no allowing involved, but in allowing that being to choose for itself without your concept of what they should choose overriding their choice, as you wish. This is true love, and it is only a one-way street. It is a choice that we make. Now, don't get your feathers in a fluffle and think that as you wish means that you become a doormat for anyone. That is not the case at all, because true love has to first apply to you. If you don't love yourself truly and fully and completely, just as you are right here in this moment, you cannot truly love another. It is a type of pseudo-love. And I'm going to give you some examples of the pseudo-love that we're all so familiar with, even if you don't recognize it. And a lot of this is programmed. So, for example, as a little child, love became sort of a weapon that your parents would use, whether consciously or unconsciously. In other words, when you were engaged in behavior that they approved of, the love seemed very evident. But if you engaged in behaviors that were not approved of, the love would seem to be withheld in some ways. And yes, I'm speaking to a degree stereotypically, but it is present in most familial relationships. And it is derived even deeper than that in our religious background. And if you live in Western culture, you are inundated by Christian mythos. You can't help but pick it up. It's literally inherited at the DNA level, that genetic memory. You've got that race memory built in there. And of course, we see a deity, the Christian deity, for example, who is not a deity of true love, but a deity of, I love you as long as you're doing what I want you to do, because if you don't, I'm going to condemn you to hell. And that certainly doesn't represent love in any sort of shape or fashion. We can't sit there and say that God loves all his children so much that he's willing to condemn any one of them to an eternity of suffering and torture for violating one of his rules. That is not a God of love. That is the same sort of conditional love God. You know, that same God got so fed up with humans in the Old Testament that he literally wanted to grind them under his feet, to squish them all. Wished he didn't even bother creating them. That again is a conditional loving God, which is not love. What conditional really is code for is a type of business relationship that most people mistake for love. And this comes from a place of not feeling complete and whole by oneself. So, thinking we lack something, we meet someone who appears in that moment to be filling that gap. And maybe the sex is good. Who knows, right? If that comes into play at all. The honeymoon period begins, and everyone sees stars in their eyes, and the two people fall in love. But what they're actually doing is engaged in making a business relationship together. They don't really understand that complete, honest, full love is simply as you wish. And that goes for you too. So instead, the relationship begins with the concept that the other person is giving you something that you feel you're lacking. And in return, you're supposed to give them something that they feel they're lacking. And it works at first. Because as long as you're getting what you want and they're getting what they want, everyone loves everybody. But as soon as that begins to shift, the eventual dysfunction that is tied into conceptual love, which is not really love, like I said, but actually a trade relationship, begins to manifest itself. That love seems to dry up in certain situations and on certain occasions for certain reasons. One partner or both partners feel they're not getting their fair share in the relationship. Love isn't about whether you're getting your fair share or not. So you may say, okay, Garhen, well, how does this work? How do I love myself and love another person? Well, I will suggest to you, based on the way that I love Kelly. I love Kelly as she wishes to be right now. There is nothing that she needs to give me. There is nothing that she could offer me that would make me somehow more complete than I already am, more whole than I already am. So therefore, my choice to love her has no attachments. It needs nothing in return. In other words, it's a one-way street. As you wish, honey. Oh, why did you make this beautiful garden? Because you told me a number of years ago that you always wished you had one. I don't need a thank you. I don't need recognition for the work that I do. Why? Because I understand that it's all about my choice. And it is your choice to choose love over everything else. And when we choose love, that does not mean we stay with a partner who is using us as a doormat. We love ourselves more than that. And because we honestly love the other person, we can look them and say, you know, nothing against you. I love you. But your choices are not choices that I can accept. So I'll be on my way. Or perhaps in that honesty and that forthrightness, in that willingness to look upon them and realize that they have the choice to behave how they wish, no matter what they've promised you, no matter what they've said in the past. They are born again in every present moment too and can choose to be whatever they wish. If you have a big problem with that, it's because you're perceiving you're not going to get what you want anymore. If Kelly said to me tomorrow, Garhen, I'm done with you. I no longer want to raise consciousness and work on my connection with self. I'd rather just go back to being asleep. I would smile at her and say, as you wish. It's been a lot of fun. And we would make our arrangements peaceably and lovingly and be on our way. There'd be no harm and no foul. The only reason why things get bitter, the only reason why anger is generated and fear and all these other things is because both sides perceive that they're losing what they were getting from the other person. And love is never like that. You know, if you look at Jesus Christ, he loved freely in one direction. And I promise you that being willing to love in that manner is its own reward. The reason it's only a one-way street is there's no need for reciprocation. To be honest, reciprocation in return is really no different than the feeling that you're generating. When you don't write love on a piece of paper and hand it to somebody and say, I love you. You generate love. It is the core of your being. It is the power source of your existence. And you're always generating that love. And when you point that love at someone and just let it go, allowing them to be whatever they are in that moment, accepting them as they are within that moment, realizing that they are free to have the choices they want to make in that moment, even if those choices appear frustrating to you, even if those choices are choices you've already made in the past. You know what? A lot of people, they have to stumble down that trail themselves in order to get it. Christ handed out love to everybody and didn't give a rat's ass whether anybody offered it back in return. He didn't need it. And again, let's be crystal clear. I'm not saying that it is not wonderful to experience someone loving upon you. But learn to experience someone loving upon you, yourself. Because that's where it all begins. That's where your ability to love another begins. If you're in a relationship where you're trying to control the other person and get them to be what you want them to be and do what you want them to do, that's not love, that's enslavement. And it will break down. It will cause dysfunction. You are the same source of love that powers this entire cosmos. And all you need do is choose to give it freely to another. And if you're not giving it freely, if there is so much as a sticker that's attached to it, it's not really love. It's a form of pseudo-love. Love requires nothing in return. Love requires no second lane coming back to it. Why? Because in the act of you loving freely, in the act of you loving from a place of as you wish, recognizing the other's inherent right to be whatever they choose to be in that moment, no matter what you may think about it, when you do that, you are the center of creation enacting out the will of creation, and that is to recognize that love within itself. And that's why it's so easy for me to love every last one of you. Because I see all of you in me, and I see myself in all of you. The act of loving, of truly loving, is one of the most empowering gifts you can ever give to yourself. And it is only through that empowerment of your own self, the willingness to accept yourself as you are right now. So I want you to do it. Because there's too many people out there who think too little of themselves. You know, I've got news for you. I've had long talks with the Creator and the entity that you would call Jesus Christ, and I like to hang out in a particular pub and drink beer, which is incredibly strange for me since I have no desire for beer here in the physical realm. But in my nightly astral travels and other experiences, we often sit down for a beer together. And I got to tell you, there is nothing more valuable in all of creation than the gift that you are unto creation. God doesn't make any mistakes. That which has generated all of us inside of itself, swimming in that sea of love, made of that love, exuding that love. Do you know how much effort it takes the egoic self to block the flow of love that is the core of our being? But when you choose love, when you choose to love freely, when you start with yourself, when you're willing to accept yourself where you are right now, the love of creation starts to pour into you and out of you. Like that eternal torus of energy, just a huge energetic cycle of love. So before you can really express that love outwards, you have to be willing to express that love inwards. So I would invite you to do without me right now, to do that with me right in this moment, okay? Wherever you are right now, just allow your eyes to close. Wrap your arms around yourself. I accept myself the way I am right now in this moment. I love myself fully, deeply. All the love of creation, all the love of that loving creative deity, that divine being, that creative consciousness flows into me and through me. I am loved just as I am. Too many times in our lives, we don't take that opportunity to recognize that we often treat ourselves with conditional love as well. We think that we need to create a two-way street because we've been trained into the idea that if you hand something to someone, you got to get something back. When you love fully, openly, and honestly, you are the source of love in the universe. There's nothing you need to get back because you're already overflowing. And the more that you love, the larger the cup gets. I have to rein myself in because I can reach out and surround everyone. And it's an awesome experience, but it also tears any sense of self completely away. Excuse me. So really, when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to your relationship with yourself, you really need to ask yourself if you're coming from that as you wish point of view. And as you wish doesn't mean a license to do whatever you want. It means go ahead and do whatever you want. But be willing to love yourself even when you're paying the consequences for what you wanted to do. I have artificial teeth now. And certain things don't do my stomach so well because I just simply can't get the chewing I used to get. But I make a conscious choice to go ahead and have that thing anyways. And then I have to love the indigestion just as much as I love the experience of eating that food. Why? Because all of creation comes with both sides built in it. The yin and the yang, the light and the dark. And we walk on that middle path. Allow yourself to love yourself fully, and in your loving of another, and just experiment with this. I know there's people in your life who you look at them and you think you love them, but the way they act, the way they behave, where they're coming from frustrates you or makes you upset, and you want to change it. It's not up to you to change it. It's their choice. Just try it. Just try loving them from that place of as you wish, which doesn't mean you can't point out the pitfalls, but it means that you accept their choices and you can love them even more when they fall down. You can be there for them to pick them back up. We're all in this together, the entirety of all of creation, but in this microcosm of what we would call the human race, we're more like that giant blob from the 60s or 50s horror movie. Parts of the blob are moving backwards, it appears. Parts of the blob aren't even moving at all. Parts are going up, parts are going down. But enough of the blob is moving forward that the whole of humanity, the whole blob, appears to be moving forward. And we are. We are growing in consciousness. We are awakening ever so slowly to the truth of our existence. And this truth is rooted in these three words, the three words that all of creation gives to you. As you wish. There is no deity that's going to judge you. I've been dead twice. I've been there. I've done that. There is no hell that you're going to enter. There is no place you're going to go where you're going to stay there forever. That is not your journey. Your journey is one of eternal growth, eternal evolution. An eternity in a playground where all of creation says, as you wish. Remember the silent, unspoken, but you also get the consequences of what you wish. And we have to own those. They don't belong to some angry, retributive God. There is no deity that does not love every single one of its children. Why? Because we're all part of it. The person who sits in a jail cell for committing murder is loved wholly and completely by the Creator. Hitler is loved wholly and fully by the Creator. I know that seems hard to accept, but it's the truth. There is no one lost. God loves every single one of its children. Now, that isn't a license to go ahead and create mayhem and destruction, although, as you wish. Go right ahead if it really suits you to do so, but you will reap the consequences of those actions. And no person who truly understands what it means to love themselves would ever be able to wreak harm and destruction upon another. Why? Because that other, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant, no matter what or who they may appear to be, is just an appearance. They're part of you too, part of that Creator. In every encounter, God looks upon itself out of love. That's it. That's all. That's all I got. Namaste. Have a beautiful Sunday night. I hope this video serves you. You are truly loved. I love you just as you are. And all of creation loves you too. Have a wonderful holiday Monday. Kelly and I will be sitting around the house, apparently. Which is perfect. It's just as it's supposed to be. Take care. We'll speak again very soon.